Welcome, my name is Robert and I'm here to tell you about the Pathscape software, specifically the Pathscape Create software, which you would use to put art and program your Pathway Perform controller, your Pathway Perform touchscreens, or your nLight Animate controller. So, looking at the Pathscape software here, I look at the device types, I see my Animate controller, and I have my old Snapshot controller, and the Perform touchscreen, and a Perform controller. One of the views that might be useful here is to go to the Consoles and Controllers filtered list, and there we can have a small, shorter list of devices. So here's a Animate controller, and I can see its IP address, and I can see its NTP server, and a couple other things I can also identify, as you would expect with any device that's on the Pathscape network. Now, to get to the Create module, where we do all of the fun art creating work, I will just hit this little button up here, and it will open up the Create module. And in this very short video, I'm going to quickly take you through the basics of how to create a workspace and attach it to a controller and do some very basic lighting. But there will be, in this series, entire videos that are dedicated to looking at static looks or dynamic looks or looks that use media like movie files to control your RGB lights. And then advanced programming of schedules and conditions. So we're just going to touch on little bits of it in this video, and for more detailed explanation of each of the little topics, you will have subsequent videos that you can look at. So to begin with, let's just say we're going to create a new project, and there's this little helper application that will just take you through step by step, and you hit the next button. So what's this project called? We're going to call it an office. And it's created by me, and we can put in any other details like phone number of the programmer or anything else you might want to put in here. Then it says what are the type of lighting fixtures that you're going to be using. So we could say we're going to use an 8-bit RGB or an RGBW. There's generic fixtures in a list, so I can say I need some intensity white light 8-bit fixtures. And if necessary, I can search online and choose any other fixtures and have them downloaded from the online library of fixtures. So from here, we will just go to the next, and it says, what units are you working in? We'll be working in feet and inches, and I know my project space is going to be 60 feet wide by 35 feet. And I have a background image that I've already created called the office floor plan. And then that brings us in and shows us what that JPEG or PNG or BMP looks like. And if I zoom into a section of it, I can say, I know for a fact that if I go from here to here, which is, who cares, 48 pixels, that is 3 feet. And that sets up the scale. And then it asks us to crop the image for anything that we may not be using. So I'm not using that little bit of the image. And at this point, I could add in more images by hitting this button. And then there's all the bring to front, send to back. So I could add corporate logos on here. I could add a parking lot. I could add a second floor somewhere in the space. I'm just going to keep it simple here. We're just happy with what we got here. So I hit next. And then what sort of conditionals would this project respond to? So let's just pick off day or night. We'll see what these do later. Opening times and maybe the seasons. And there's lots of custom ones that you can add later. This will be a whole topic in another video. So, and to know when sun rises and sun sets, we choose our city. So it has all the cities in the world with their longitude and latitude. Tells us when daylight savings begins and ends and what time zone it is based on the location of the city. So a lot of work there you don't have to do. And then On my network, because I'm plugged in, it actually has found two controllers. It's found the Pathway Perform controller and an nLight Animate controller. So let me just choose this guy with his IP address. So let's just create this project. And here we are. So now we're looking at this space. And if I click on it, it calls this the project space. So I'm going to call this main office first floor. Very nice. And the number is not important. It could be used for advanced controlling with an API, but we'll get into that again at a later time. So if we go to the home screen here, it says you might want to add another space, a fixture. You might want to patch the fixture, add a look, all these different things. So far, we've just put in a couple conditions and a couple scheduled events. So let's just see what it looks like here to add a space. And it says, oh, to do that, click on the plus button up here, open the library. Then you say, we need a space. And then it says, click and drag to add a rectangular space. So I will click and drag over this conference room. And then it says, click here to finish adding the spaces. So now I have my space 2, which is not a very good name. I'm going to call this conference room. And then we could go and add additional spaces. And they don't always have to be rectangular. So if I wanted to do this area here, I could go making a rather complex shape. And we might call this the general area. And again, we could add more and more spaces. So now looking at our spaces, this is the whole floor. This is the conference room. If I double click, it will zoom in and center on the conference room. If I double click on general, we get the general spaces. So if we go back to the home screen, it then says you probably want to add a fixture. So this is the helper saying click to open the libraries, click fixtures, and let's just pick a fixture type, the LED RGB, just general lights. And it says click on the canvas to add a fixture, and I will add another one. Now I can select all of these guys and use some of the tools to align them to the left and maybe distribute them vertically, so now they're all nicely distributed like that. Going back to home, it says maybe now you want to patch the fixtures. So click and drag the fixtures you want to patch, and then we will just drag them into our patch grid there. And now we can see we have RGB number 1, number 2, number 3, and they've automatically filled up the space. So now when we go home, it says, how about you add a look? So again, click the plus to open the library, go to looks, choose a look type, either static, dynamic, or timeline. Let's get simple here. We will do a static look. And it says click on the canvas to add a look. Now this is the important bit. If I click outside of this space, the conference room, this look will not affect any of these lights. So I will click in the conference room and it automatically selects all the lights in the conference room. And I could make them red, or I could make them green, or I could pick a custom color. I can select the odd ones and set them to a different color. And then I can select an individual one and set it to its own color. So let's take the 2 on the end and make them red. And now we have a pretty look. So now when we go home, we can add a condition to a look. So click on control, it says. Click on add conditions. Click on the look, we only have the one. And we should say this should happen whenever it's daytime and we are open in every season. So I can click off spring, summer, autumn, winter, or just leave them alone. So now if we want to see this operate, we will just go under control, hit the play button, and then I can change from nighttime to daytime, and we will say that we are open, and you see that the look fades in, and if we go to close, the look will fade out. Or if we were on and we go to nighttime, the look will fade out. So now that we've done all this programming, we can go to the devices, select our controller, upload the project to the controller, and now it can sit and run independently by itself. So join me again, and I will give you a deeper look at different types of looks, how to use conditionals appropriately, and how to set up schedules.